So thank you for my big brother here, Mr. Norman Patrick Brown, a huge advocate and a voice for many of our people. Crystalyne Curley nishke. Senji killing nishle. Head lini bashishchin kia ani dashiche. Zilka kia ani dashinale. Matse nishli hats a sunshle. Nele hale de adet nasha. Balagana ketcho fish point de. Nele talanado talagli. Do bestod ish desh nahas ate adet ishike adog ade din ishla beshbada saana aje then hochihiki bayashtke ado ishla go tatna zele islo belindash nishiki talanado talagaides do bestod ish desh jetes ato nazlere do dag ehlane with ishla go tatna zeledo Chinadon hik aje da niliki nijuko basindash nishto kodosh na nishbineshlo atin den khaish nishko jo shisazido shisele do benachet o hayu intahoist do o hayu atin de na nishalo and I'll just transition. I do see many of our visitors to the Navajo Nation, and I'll try to switch back and forth to Navajo and English. So thank you again for this invitation to our Uranium Film Festival here to the Navajo Nation Museum and also the capital of the Navajo Nation. So I had to excuse myself from our Nabakia Ticket Committee meeting, which happens 2 times a month on a Thursday. So it's by law that we meet as council. So I said, my colleagues, I was like, can you take over for me, step in for me? I was like, because this issue is dear to heart to me. It's a passion of mine, knowing that justice has to be served. So this has been one of my priorities as serving as a council delegate and as a speaker. So I asked my colleagues if you can excuse me for a few hours, then because I do want to be there, be among all the advocates and the supporters, the victims, the survivors of this very important issue. So first and foremost, all to the directors, the script writers, event coordinators, thank you very much for creating a space where we can gather together and share our stories and share that heartache that we feel, sometimes even when we're advocating. Sometimes, yes, we may feel that we are alone again, and we use even our volunteers that are here, we use our own money to do a lot of these advocacy trips, to do these types of films, to arrangements, to event planning. It takes a lot. So that's first, I want to acknowledge everyone who has played a part in this, and also to the New Mexico Social Justice and Equity Institute. So are there representatives here? If you can raise your hand. All right, Anna, for everything that you do. This film festival, thank you again for telling the stories that is still an ongoing issue, an unanswered issue at the federal level. Many of us have different stories, different connections to uranium, and we bring that here. And then through film, through technology, it is another tool where we begin to, again, tell our stories. So today, while you're enjoying this film festival, also remember those that couldn't be here today. Plashint o hayu atin den hike bejen dahi na at di say so hat niniki hashint bejen na da hot iki do kwagi o yun nikes holanda ne debet and this is also the time to remember those that are still struggling with the health effects with the barriers that uranium has created. Because many of the time when I'm on the Capitol Hill and they say, well, this happened back in the 60s or the 70s, maybe that time, move on. I know that's something that we repeatedly hear as supporters or as advocates. And we're saying, no, this issue is still alive and haunting our communities, and that it's still here and it gets passed down to generation. So many of the films that are being told today, it not only tells the story of our communities, but it helps to bring justice. And I'm speaking only from experience. When I go to Capitol Hill, especially with the whole trying to expand and extend the Radiation Compensation Act, RECA. Within this past 3 years, I don't know how many times we had to go to DC. And even doing the first Navajo Nation March on Capitol Hill, we have banners and we walk all the way along the street of Pennsylvania Ave and saying, no, justice needs to be answered. We deserve justice. And these families should not be ignored. So those are the types of stories that these films capture. Because it is our congressional leaders use these films to say, even when I'm in a room with a congressional leader, I invited families that are impacted, victims, previous minors, and I said, I said, because I'm only one person, but we need each other's help. I was like, you know firsthand what you're going through, the burdens that you feel, your barriers, the challenges of doing appointments, what you're diagnosed with. I was like, you only know best. And these congressional leaders need to hear your voice. And that was a stance that I've taken, especially along with this issue, is taking along victims and survivors that are directly impacted. Because yes, a leader can say, yes, I support this, and do this. But it's you that provide that voice and that heartache, and that can be told by another person. So I really do appreciate all of you that have made that effort in saying, yes, I want to volunteer to do a film. I want my voice to be captured, because many of our people have lost their lives without being heard or having that opportunity to be put on film. And I share this because it's storytelling is very important. The way that we deal with this issue, the way it impacts our daily lives, our children, our grandchildren, our homes, our communities. Because I grew up without my biological grandfather. So that's my mother's biological father. And he worked in the mines. The nearest mine that we live by is Claim 28 in Blue Gap, Touchy. And that's where my biological grandfather was originally from. And my mom, just through the stories, she don't remember her dad because she was only 2 years old when he passed. And just even through the health effects of no access to health care, we lived close to Blue Gap and it was too far to travel, so he couldn't get the necessary treatment that he needed. And now the after effects, almost 80 years later, not only does it take lives, but uranium also takes culture, language, and tradition and family ties. Sometimes I wonder if my grandfather didn't work in the mines and was didn't have any cancers or had treatment, he would have been here. At least I would have learned his teachings that could have been passed down from generation to generation. So many of us share that heartache in that story because it's taking from us. Uranium has taken so much life from us, has stolen so many of our language, our stories, our teachings, our families, and it's still there. And it's I say it's one of the modern monsters that we continue to fight in our Navajo society. But through the films, really think about that. Like, what other areas or what type of awareness now with technology? I see many of our children that are here. We are now that next generation to carry on that fight. Because if we stop raising awareness, if we stop fighting, it's just going to be ignored and despaired. Oh, that happened a long time ago, let's just move on. But we're saying, no, it's not right. This is wrong. Our people deserve justice. Our land deserves justice. I actually just got back from Washington, D.C. a couple of days ago, talking about all the over 500 abandoned uranium mines that we have. And since we have received funding from Congress, not one cleanup has happened. So a lot of for example, Claim 28, I don't know how many years it has been studied. Our people are frustrated hearing that, oh, US EPA is going to do another study. We're going to do water study now. And many of our elders are now passing and saying they never got to see the day where their land was restored or where it was safe again to graze within that area. So those are the continuing loss. And not only are we trying to fight at the same time, but we're also trying to process this grieving and mourning of our family members, of our land, of our resources. It is frustrating. It is something that can't make you sleep at night, because you have to keep thinking there has to be an answer. We have to keep going. And I go through that. Sometimes I just feel like, okay, I feel like we're not doing something right. Maybe we're not pushing hard enough. And at times it's very hard to also bring leadership together. So I'm very fortunate with this council. We have put our foot down with our Resources and Development Committee. They're the one that organized a meeting this past week in DC and saying the abandoned uranium mines have to be addressed. No longer are we going to wait for the federal government from this study. This is the best way. What we want is this not to be buried again within the same place, or giving us a solution that just 1 mile outside the reservation line, that's where it's going to be buried. I don't see that as an answer. So there has to be different ways and an effective way to clean up the mines, because our people have suffered long enough. And for over 500 uranium mines, having our people, we gave up our resources to the federal government to fund their wars, civil wars, all these years. And now, we were just left in the dark. Okay, we got what we needed, and let's go on, move on. But there has to be a depth and a justice that has to be served on how we were treated. So keep that in mind, that our voices needs to keep going, keep making these films, keep making partnerships, collaboration to do more of these types of using technology, and I'm really happy to see many of our young people that are here. We live in a day and age where social media is now a big tool, media campaigns, and I challenge you to keep forward with that or bring ideas at the community level, because we have to keep telling our stories. For our people that have passed, we can't just let their lives just be forgotten, but we have to keep telling their stories, keep passing it down and saying that this is wrong. So I really do appreciate being here and giving that time to speak. And as long as I'm the speaker, I'm going to keep making this as one of my main priorities for the Navajo Nation, because there needs to be a place and time where we already know what's right and wrong. We have to keep pushing and fighting for something that is right or something that is wrong. Justice. It has to be served to our Navajo Nation, to our Navajo people, and for all of the people that live near those mines, and for all of our grandparents, grandfathers who have lost their lives. Don't let their lives just be in vain, but be remembered and honored through this advocacy, this support, and through this fight. And I'm just very happy, because sometimes as a leader, coming to a space like this, it just motivates you more that, that I'm doing the right thing, that I had to keep pushing. So again, thank you, brother, for allowing me to speak. And may you all go home with good prayers and good thoughts, because I know it's stressful. I know it's a heartache, but keep on going, that I'm there with you, that we pray together, we support each other. But after this film festival,
Thank you.